Hello, awakening humans. This is Ildi, and I'm greeting you from Canada. We have been in the United States in the last 2 weeks, but now we are back to Canada. Vacation is over, so now I'm making this video from here. Behind me, you see the grand view of my backyard. The vacation is over, so we are back, and I'm making my videos from here now. This is pretty strange though, because I have never done this before, and I feel a bit awkward because I don't have the kind of privacy that I had in the woods, because I have neighbors on the right and I have neighbors on the left, and some of them are at home, so I'm a little bit awkward about this, but it has to be done, so it will be done. Today I would like to continue talking about my personal spiritual experiences. This is part 2 of the series. I have talked about in my last video of my experiences with finding myself out in space, the pink swirly thing that I experienced, and remote viewing, remote hearing, and other interesting things that happened to me. Today, the first thing I want to talk about is astral projection. I would like to say that I have done it, but the truth is that I never have, or at least not in a form that I would recognize it as such, because it was nothing like others have described it. I have read a lot about astral projection. I have read about people experimenting with it, people experiencing it and describing it in great detail, and I have always been so envious, and I said I wish I could do that. So I have tried several times and it never happened. I got to the point where I felt my body vibrating. I felt that I was sort of numb, like I couldn't really move. That was the paralysis that a lot of people talk about. There was this very strong pulling sensation from my navel, and it never went much farther than that. At one point I felt like I was vibrating so much I thought I was just about to pop out, and then there was this loud bang noise that was only in my head. It was not from outside, and it stopped the whole thing. So it just never came together. So I have never managed to astral project at will. But the interesting thing I have experienced about that was not what I was doing, but what my husband was doing. You see, I'm a married woman, so I don't sleep alone. I have a person sleeping next to me, who is my husband, preferably. And his reaction to my attempts at astral projection is what's really interesting here. Now, before I started experimenting, I always waited until he fell asleep, and he does it so easily. One moment he's awake, and next moment he's snoring away. So I waited until he was sleeping, and then I started experimenting. And the moment I started experimenting, he started twitching. He started twitching, he started moving around, he started thrashing about. And it happened every time I tried to AP. And so even if it could have happened, maybe it couldn't have happened, because I was always interrupted. So you may ask, why didn't you try it on another bed alone? And I did, but it never came together that way either. So I cannot blame my husband for not being able to astral project, but his reaction is very, very interesting to it. So somehow he is affected by the energy I'm putting out, and it must be a really strong, disturbing one if it makes him thrash about so. So that was very, very interesting to me, and I can't really explain it. I have never heard anybody talking about it, But here I am telling you, maybe some of you have similar experiences. What other experience did I have? Remember the pink place I talk about, the pink swirly thing. I called it my pink place. So I would just lay down and close my eyes, and I would say to myself, I want to go to the pink place. And then there was a time when very easily that pink place, the pink swirly thing, just appeared. And after a while it was harder and harder to get there, and these days the pink turned into blue. It is no longer pink, it's more like blue. Sometimes there's gray inside, so it changed. This is how I know that something changed, because my experiences are not the same. So no more pink, now it's blue, and it does not come as easily as it did before. Another interesting experience was one day that I laid down again, closed my eyes, and I didn't even give myself any kind of instruction. I just waited for what happens, because many times when I do this I get these visions. But what I got this time was that suddenly I saw my hands in front of my face like this in a pink haze. So my eyes were closed and I had a vision of seeing my hands through a pink haze. Don't ask me what it was, I don't know, but it was very interesting. One of the most interesting experiences I had was in my dream. I have read once that you can give yourself instructions before you go to sleep, and you experience some really interesting stuff. So what I did was, I always wondered about my past life, who I was or who I am in other lives, and what am I doing, and what do I look like. So one night I went to bed and I said, I want to see myself in my dream. I want to look into the mirror and see my face. I want to know what I look like. And it happened. I had several dreams in which I looked into a mirror and I have seen faces in the mirror that weren't this face, but I knew that it was mine. Once I saw a 40-year-old woman, around 40, 45, and she had long colored brown hair, and she lived somewhere that looked like France, I don't know. I'm just trying to judge by the street I'd see. It looked certainly European. Other times I had these, I don't know if it was Korean, Chinese, it's not so easy for me to differentiate the two. So I had the Oriental features, and the third time was very interesting because it was the strongest one. I was dreaming that I was in a doctor's office. I was talking to a doctor, and then I went to wash my hand, and I was washing my hands in the basin, and I looked up and there was a mirror on the cabinet, and I saw my face. I looked at my face and I was this 60, 70-year-old lady with short colored strawberry hair, curled hair. I could see that I had a kind of hair that you put into curlers. I have seen a lot of older people like that. So I had that kind of hair. So I was looking into the mirror and I was looking at my face, and I knew it was me, but she didn't look like me, nothing at all like me. So to me that was one of the most interesting experiences, to see my own face in the mirror, the face that does not look like me. Another interesting experience was that people were talking about 5D. I read people talking about it, how we are raising our vibrations and how some of them are seeing the 5D, because everything is more vibrant, everything is more colorful. And one day I was sitting on my deck and I was just looking out at my backyard, and suddenly everything turned into this incredibly vibrant color. The greens were super green, the blue sky was super blue, and it was just so alive, the whole thing. And I was sitting there frozen, and I couldn't believe it at first. And then I said, oh my God, this is it. This is what people are talking about. I'm actually seeing this. That everything is super vibrant color. It was so very beautiful. And again, around 20-30 seconds, and it was over. Everything turned back into the normal colors. But those 20 seconds were amazing. I was so happy that it happened to me. So I was part of this great 5D experience. So I absolutely loved it. The last thing I would like to talk about is something that happened at work. I was at work one day, and I work in a factory, and we are very busy, and we do hard work. And one day, everything just went crazy. You know, one of those days when everything seems to go bad. So we were running around like headless chickens. We were very, very frustrated. And I was so angry. And I sometimes talk to my guides and to spirit and to whoever is listening. And I do my affirmations like the good little light worker. And this time I was so frustrated. I was so angry because I work so hard, not just physically, but I work on this awakening process, and I put in so much energy, and sometimes I feel like I'm not getting back what I put in, because work is so hard and so frustrating. And so I was angry, and honestly I told all my guides and spirits and everybody would listen off. I told them off, said this is not right. Now where I work by myself around the machine. It's very noisy, no one can hear me, so I can talk out loud, no problem. So I honestly cussed out all the spirits around me and everybody who was listening. Said this is not right, not fair, that I would have to do this. Life should be easier. I should not have to work this hard. I should not have to put up with all this BS. And suddenly I was flooded with love. I was flooded with so much love. I stopped in my track, and I just stood there, and I was just swallowing and swallowing, because you know the feeling when you are overcome with so much love that it wants to overflow. So I stood there, and I was choking on it, and the tears were coming, and that's when I knew that someone's actually out there and listening. And I was cussing them all out, and they were giving me, I guess, encouragement. They were letting me know that we are here, and we see you, and we see your pain and your frustration, and we hear you. And you know, that made all the difference in the world. So that is all I'm going to say about today. I have several more ideas for videos, so I'm going to be making them. For now, I say goodbye from my lovely backyard, from my lovely country, beautiful Canada. Goodbye everyone. Take care.